Welcome back to the Big Build. I'm Robin Clevett and I'm here on site. I've got Ed with me and that's it. There's just the two of us and we are putting wall plates on, or at least getting ready to put the wall plates on, because we've just about got our lorry to arrive with all of our posi joists. Posi joists, as you'll see, are the ones with the metal webs that go through. They're fantastic, they're light, they're straight, they're strong, they're perfect for modern construction. They do good spans and there's no bows, twists, bends. They're a little bit, they're not dead straight, okay? They're not like iron, but they're not bad. Anyhow, so we've got all of the brickwork sorted. We've got all of the existing walls sorted. They're all tidied up, they're all level. We've improved the top course. We've taken all that rubbish off. We've gone round and we've re-bricked where they tried to link the cavity and get it all nice and flat. We've redone all that and it's absolutely perfect. So we're going to go out front. We've got the timber that we got from the builders merchants. I went there and I picked it out. So I picked out several pieces that I wanted to do the wall plates with. I bought 6 metre lengths. I don't need 6 metre lengths, but some of them are quite long. It gives me the option of picking the straightest one out of the 6 that I chose. So hopefully we'll be able to make a nice straight job and get them all perfect. So let's go around, have a look at that, and then we'll have a quick look upstairs and I'll just tell you exactly where they're going and what they're doing. Here are the long treated timber wall plates that we've got here. And as I say, I picked them out of the builders merchants and they're all pretty good, they're pretty flat and they're pretty straight. Now let's go and have a look where they're going. We've got all of the walls straightened up, we've got all of our brickwork up to the height, underside of plate if you like, where we have a bed of mortar. Then we put the wall plates on and we're actually just taking out the last section of ceiling right in the distance. This is because we've been protecting that from the elements whilst still be using a washing machine, believe it or not, and a tumble dryer. But anyway, we're taking those joists off, we're taking the ceiling boards down, and we're going to put a temporary cover over that just for a couple of days until we've got our joists in and flooring. Okay, well this is a useful scenario because here I can give you an example. This is the wall plate from the previous extension. This wall plate remains. This floor structure remains. This is a wall plate of sorts. I call it a pole plate. Lots of people call it a pole plate. So that's effectively what the rafter was fixed to. Sometimes the rafter goes and fixes to this wall plate, but quite often, depending on how you've configured the roof, the headrooms and all the rest of it, this is quite likely to be another sort of scenario. We're actually going to be doing this as well, all the way around our joists. So our wall plates, we've got one on here. So this bay of joists is running from this wall to that load bearing wall over there. So basically in the same direction as all of these, the shortest span. Then we've got a gable here. So at the moment we won't run a wall plate on this wall, but what we will have is a full wall plate all the way through here. Then I've got another piece of wall plate which runs from here all the way through now along the wonky wall. This is the wonky wall, we call it, because this is where the old building curved right out and curved right in. And you can see it's probably difficult, but there's a line on here which is parallel to everything else which is square. So this is the wonky wall. We've got a wall plate going over the middle wall there. That one's just 100 by 50 as normal. This one's a 150 by 50. And then we've got a short section over there and a short section on that return to take the joists, which are all going in this direction. We've also got a double wall plate which is going to be bolted to the steel that we've drilled ready over the door and bifold openings over there. Now that one there sets everything. That one there, we're going to put 2 on there now. We're going to just clamp them on and then we're going to use our laser to level every single one from there, because we know that that is our fixed point, and everywhere else we've got a bed of cement, say 10 or 15 millimeters over the top of all of this to get those plates nice and level. Stick 2 over this side. So what I'm looking for is something which is flat in plane, and obviously it's not going to be flat like this because it's bending under its own weight, but I can weight that down and get it nice and true with the laser. And this one's good for up there. This one wants to twist round, I reckon. Let's turn this one round. The other one. So it's just a matter of handling the timber, using the lengths to feed themselves across. You haven't got to struggle, and these are nice and dry, so sometimes they can weigh twice as much, especially when they've been sitting in the rain for weeks on end. That's it, there's my double. Right, let's get this plate bedded on. I think a carpenter should always be responsible for his own plates, I reckon. Because too many carpenters complain about bricklayers putting plates on, and it's not generally the brickie's fault. It's generally the timber that the brickie gets given. The brickie's like, oh, what did I do with this? It's all over the place, and so much of it is. So my pain goes out to our brickies. What I do, any brickies that work with me generally know that we do this together. So they don't have the worry of it. I don't mind the worry of it. I've got to build a roof on it. Okay. The other thing is, these blocks tend to suck the life out of the muck. So if you've got a lot of plates to go on, you've got to start with a bit and work your way around. You don't have the luxury of running all the bed, because that is gonna probably go wrong. This trowel means a lot to me. This was my late father-in-law's trowel, the last trowel he ever worked with, and it's going to stay with me now forever until I pass it on. So don't say that won't be long, cheeky monkeys. Yeah, it's painful watching a carpenter with a trowel. Right, let's see how we're looking there. So sometimes when you're putting a plate on, you might need to have a go at it, and you might just be a little bit on the low side, take it up, more cement, and put it back on. So I think, let's have a little look at this. First thing I did was tried the wall plate on the wall. So the wall is fairly straight and the wall plate is iffy, but I put the best matching sides, which is that one. Okay, so I'm just going to drop that on. Let's get it underneath my plastic on this side for now. There we go. Now, before we do anything else, we're just going to get the staff and the laser, and we'll see roughly where we're laying. So it wants to come down, which is what we want. It wants to come down. Then we can estimate roughly how far. Not a great deal. We'll get a nice long level, the longest one we can fit in with it, which is in this case, this 1800. It's a lovely size level, this. We'll pop that on there and we'll see what we're doing. So at the moment it's heavy in the middle there. Bad, that's a bit better. Right, so we're going to be somewhere here, I reckon. Right, another day, and we are putting the rest of the wall plates on. So we've got a real combination here. We've got some normal wall plates which are bedded on. Andy's just put this one on here. So you're all done up there, Andy? Yeah. And then we're going to get that one bolted on over there, which is a little bit more carpentry wise. We're going to get that one on. We're going to bed one on here with a small return. So I've got a couple of halvings to go on the ends of these plates. So I just use circular saws for these. It's the quickest and easiest way. So I set one to the half the thickness of the timber. And you know, with experience, you really don't need to get marking gauges out and all that sort of stuff. I sometimes have a small device, which just, in fact, it's not here, believe it or not. It's a small bit of timber, which has got a rebate in it, which is exactly half of a typical 4x2, if you like. They're about 46 mil, 45, 46 mil. They're getting thinner and thinner, 4x2s. They were 4x2 when I was sort of 16, 17, 18. And then they gradually got smaller as they started doing this nice eased edge timber where they regularised, where they regularise it all, yeah? So what that means is that they make sure it's all exactly the same height and virtually all exactly the same thickness. So basically we'll set a blade to halfway, okay? So I'll just put that onto halfway there. So one of my saws to halfway, and let's do that. I'm taking this bit out here. Again, I know I'm waxing lyrical all the time about battery tools, but it's just such a convenience not having a transformer and a lead. It's just great, isn't it? Normally there'll be a cable here somewhere, like that way, this way, you'd be tripping over it, but it's so helpful. So come and have a look at that. That's obviously just on the money there. So that's just on the money there, halfway. So we'll lock that off, put that to one side. And the other one we'll set full depth, because I'm actually going to run it in around the edge. Now, when you're running in around the edge, what you've got to do is be careful, because when you're running the timber on the thin side, you don't have a lot of contact. And obviously a circular saw has got a gaping great gap there, so you're going to get to a point where you're rocking and rolling all over the shop. So it's worth marking that margin all the way round, just halving it through with your finger, all the way through. So when you're actually going in with your saw, you can make sure you can see the blades following the line. It's not tilting, all right? So you're just going to use that. So I'm going to cut this out. This is even more pronounced there because I've got this there, so I've got even less there to rock and roll on. So I'm going to halve it over this little return. We'll just pop that on there. I'll get my square. It's probably not square in the corner anyway, looking at it up there. Get some ears on. Pop some ears on. And we'll do a bit of this. obviously I'm just going to go through this way now. From the other side. So we've done 80% of the cutting there. So we can do one or two things now. Give it a little tap this way, break the grain, and then we can flop that out. And all we need to do is just clean that up. Put that out of the way first, cut the next bit, try them together. And again, we're going to mark that round. And we're taking that out, obviously. Straight in half. You might want to clamp the timber if you're not confident. This is a nice bit of kit to use just to finalise your joints and make sure they're nice and flat. It's so quick. Don't even need to get a chisel out anymore. That's the thing, we've got so much kit now that speeds our lives up, which means we can do more work, potentially earn more money in a short space of time. That's if you're wise. If you're going out on day work, you're no better off. But if you're on price and you can, price to do a roof like this and you think, right, I'm going to allow 6 weeks to do this, and you do it in 5, you're still getting paid for 6. If you're on day work, you do it in 5, you're missing out on a week's work. So it's an interesting one. So yes, I do think that all of this technology is brilliant and the advances in battery tools and the rest of it, but you've got to make it work to your own advantage. Right, we're going to put this scaffold up along this wall. We're going to put this bit of wall plate along this central spine. This is the return, which goes across there. I'm going to pop it up dry. I'm going to screw that together actually where that wall is, because it's probably not square. Nothing else was square on this side. So we'll pop it on, line it up. I'll put some fixings in it. We'll remove it carefully. We'll put all the mortar on. We'll put the whole thing on. We'll bed it down and we'll let that go off. Put a bit of weight on it and we'll let it go off. Then we're going to drop onto this front one there, the steel. We're going to attach the double wall plate together, and then we're going to bolt it through the steel, through those pre-drilled holes we've got in that steel. The only reason why we need this bit of wall plate is because there's a 3-ply beam, which means there's 3 timbers together here. So one would hang over. So this is only catching the end of this beam, which would also sail over to there. So you could probably land it on that one there, but it's best to have it where you want it. Cushy. Right, that's that. Now we'll take that off and bed that back on now. We've got the laser set up, so how much bed do we need? 15 mil. All right, we've got the gear. Come on in, mate. Let's bed that on. And we'll just pop this out of the way for a minute. Our water pipe, we need that there for the old site loo. It's amazing what you can keep going during the course of a job. Now what we'll do, we'll get a bit of mortar on here. This is where you really don't want anything in the mortar in it, like stones. It's like bouncing around. See, the old Bricky would have done this by now, wouldn't he? He had a great big trowel. He would have gone wallop. Not like us chippies messing around. Still, I said this before, but I think it's really important that carpenters should be responsible for their own wall plates. I think that when we were at college, we didn't get taught to bed wall plates when it was the bricky's job. But to be fair, if the bricky picks up the timber and it's been laying out there and it's really out of straight, they can't do anything with that. It's just they're fighting a losing battle to start with. The chippy comes along and goes, look at the state of that. So I do think, well, I mean, a lot of the builders I work with doing roofs, often I'm there to put on the plates with them. I say, that's all right, I'll cut them in, do all the joints, and that's the best way I find. It's all right. Just checking that I've got enough mortar on everywhere. Yeah. That's just a little trick before you put the whole thing on, just to make sure you can actually get it down to where you want it. Oh, it's all good fun. Lift him over for a sec. I've got to thread mine underneath here, underneath the water pipe. That's it. Now I'll just position the length first. Good. Let's just gently spot it in. Right, let's get a bit of stick on there now. All right, mate. I think we're looking pretty tidy now. And then the best thing in the world is your eye. Looking down that, and it's pretty good. So that's it, that's weighed down now. That can have a couple of hours to stiffen up and go off. Thanks, mate. Just going to tidy up the back where we've got a little bit of mortar. Make sure it's nice and pull up the joint. Doesn't take long to go off because they suck the life out of the cement. Yeah, exactly. The timber's quite dry as well. We actually wetted it down a little bit just so it didn't just contact and go stiff, especially when you're putting plates on. That's why I think sometimes it's better to have a decent bed, because the mortar would go off. If you've only got 10mm bed, that mortar's almost gone off the time you got down the other end, unless you're wetting your blocks down a bit. We've got nearly all of the wall plates that we need to get on everywhere. We've got that one on the wonky wall. We've used an oversized wall plate here because we can. We've used a 150 by 45 all around the sort of main perimeters where we're sitting over these big fat walls. Then we've gone back to standard wall plates over internal load bearing walls here. We've got the double bolted on the steel, which gets us up to the right datum. And that's it. I'm just going to bed this last piece on tonight and then we can hit the ground running. So that is our joists ready to go on now. That's the plates on. So the next task will be start getting all those joists up onto this roof, spaced out, fixed down, and it's a great job to get a new, nice, perfectly level, flat ceiling over the whole thing. And you just